was a really interesting movie because it wasn't done like a Marvel movie, right? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which part of me didn't like that because I do love my Marvel.
We're gonna start kicking some ass. And we're back.
Oh, by the way, I think it's
we're
Tamil,
back.
not
I didn't
Tamil.
hear any boo 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 boo.
Oh, right.
Oh, I just called it back.
Okay, that's my.
We should do a jam set. We should do a jam set of that.
Oh, yeah, right.
Stop.
Oh, that's the one thing I forgot to say about the last movie.
What?
Some scenes reminded me of Indiana Jones when he's running around and
Oh,
chasing him.
absolutely. Yes.
Okay,
Very much.
But I missed it. Missed my chance.
Cutting room floor for that.
Let it go. Let it go.
Shake it off.
Okay. So, hello. This week we'll be doing my movie, and my movie is The Animal Kingdom. Okay, this is sci-fi fantasy. It's directed by Thomas. I say Cayley. I'm not exactly sure because it's a French film.
Du cinéma.
So I'm not exactly sure how you would say that. And also written by him along with Pauline Mounier. I know how to say that one. Anyways, so the movie begins with a father and son traveling somewhere. The father is Francois, played by, again, all these names are French, so
Call Fred.
So why bother?
so forgive me.
Yeah.
But they're kind of like, they look like English names,
So you
right?
say
You know what I
them.
mean?
Yeah.
Romain Duras, and the boy, Emile, I guess he's probably about 15 years old. He's played by Paul Kircher. I don't, Kircher. Anyways, so they're stuck in traffic, and they're having a slight row over that he keeps feeding the dogs potato chips, and he's telling him not to do that as he's chain smoking, by the way. And they're going to see their mother, Lana, who's been in some kind of hospital. That's what we know about that. What's wrong? We don't exactly know. There's an ambulance up ahead. And all of a sudden, and they're stuck in this traffic. It's like bumper to bumper. And so they're stuck in traffic. And all of a sudden, this ambulance that's about, 5 cars up, the back of it starts rattling, and the doors break open. And this guy with all these
Creatures.
doctors or ambulance guys are kind of all over it. But he looks like a bird. And his face is all bandaged, and he has a wing, and he manages to get away from the ambulance guys, and he takes off and he runs, and we assume they can't catch him. Okay. I was like, what in the world is this? That's kind of what I was
Sci-fi.
like. What is this? And that's the thing is, it is sci-fi, but it isn't like CGI Wi-Fi.
Right.
It's really not important. Like we see the mother, but we only see the back of her, and she looks pretty hairy. Like we see here, but we just see the back of her. So it appears that a virus is infecting some people, and they begin transforming into animals, like different animals, not the same animal, just different animals. And the animals vary. But here's where the story gets interesting, because it kind of splits in two. The story is a father and his teenage son who's they're going to a strange place. They have to move closer to the hospital where the mom is. So the hospital. I'm not exactly sure what it is exactly. And it's a new place. The father has a new job. The boy is going to go to a new school. So it's kind of a father and son story. And there's also the story of these creatures and society is kind of freaking out. They are afraid of transitioning people. Kind of like the X-Men, but without the super
Powers?
Yes, with no superpowers. But they do have the characteristics of the animals they're turning into. They can be very strong, or they, you know what I mean? The mother has been affected by this virus, even though we never see her.
Oh yeah, she turns around.
Well, later on we see her.
Yeah.
You see her in the trailer turning around.
In the trailer.
Yeah, she does turn
Would
around
you
at the
see her
beginning.
back
She does
here?
kind of turn around and you see her face like
You see her
yeah,
eyes.
yeah, yeah, okay.
You see her
gonna be
eyes.
a
Yeah, but it's
bird.
kind of a
Exactly.
close-up, right? It's
Yeah,
kind
exactly,
of a close-up,
yeah.
So,
Literally, you get the picture.
so the second story is how the non-infected people begin to
ostracize.
how they begin to deal with these affected people. So I thought it was pretty interesting. The movie gives us many things to observe about ourselves, right? But the movie never comments on it. They never make a comment about it, that we should do this or we should do that. It's just kind of how they deal with it. And sometimes the regular people are really kind of monstrous themselves, because, it's
Yeah.
because they, but it's kind of very interesting movie because it's all about acceptance. And like the boy actually starts having stuff happen. He starts riding his bike, and all of a sudden he can't ride his bike. His body won't do that. And this is kind of thing. It's like, and he is flipped out. So it's all about, I thought, if you look about accepting yourself, accepting the things society doesn't approve of, and how everybody learns to deal with it, because in this case, it's a family. So everybody loves everybody. It's not like, but also change, how something changes. Their life has just changed, and we all go through this. Things change, and we have to adapt to it. And at first we're frightened, and we might be scared, and we might even be angry. We might be lots of stuff.
COVID.
COVID.
Exactly.
Yeah, in fact, I think it was written
That time.
during that time too, So, yeah, I thought it was really interesting, not necessarily for the sci-fi part of it, but the sci-fi part of it made me question, or made me question things about what's going on in my own life, in our own society. And so I liked that. I did without them preaching anything to me. They weren't
Right.
preaching anything. So, Patty.
It was a really interesting movie because it wasn't done like a Marvel movie, where, you know what I
Right.
mean? Which part of me didn't like that because I do love my
When
Marvel.
they start kicking some ass.
But I loved the relationship between the father and the son. I thought it had a lot to do with change and how we deal with things that are not in society approved of. But the
just think-
father showed. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I was
Go
going to
ahead.
say, just the fact of, think of, you're the father and now you have a teenage kid.
Yeah.
They're monsters. You have to adjust
In
to
their own
that.
right. A bird couldn't be much worse, right? So,
Teen Wolf.
yeah, T-Wolf, right. So the relationship between the father and the son, because they had that two sections, the father and son, and a real normal dealing with the teenager. And then this whole other part comes in. The kid's embarrassed by it or scared of it, and he keeps trying to hide it. But eventually the father catches on, and it works out really sweet.
And there's a girl in school
Yeah.
that he...
Yeah, it keeps very normal, and then
Yeah,
there's this
that's what I'm saying.
underlying
There's
part.
these two stories.
Yeah, it's like two
That's
parallel
what I'm saying. If you're going to
stories.
move to another town or another school, there better be a cute girl. Then just it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Maybe with that Welcome to the Sixth Town.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right?
Okay. Is
So-
that it, Patty? No.
Yeah, it was the father and son relationship I thought was the commanding power in the movie.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what I liked.
No. To me, no.
You're next.
Yeah, see, that's the one funny thing. I didn't quite know, because obviously it's dealing with alienation. But
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, are we supposed to be dealing with because of the transfer of people mutating into animals, or are we looking at adolescence? Because you're right. I think it parallels. Both of them
Absolutely.
are exactly the same.
Absolutely.
But what I thought, and I agree with you, Patty, and is the fact that it's the father and son, their relationship, because the father has already, quote unquote, lost a wife, and the mother of the son to this thing. I don't even know what you call it. I guess you can just call it a mutation.
They said it was
right?
a virus.
Right.
Affliction.
There's an affliction or mutation that is turning people into animals. What kind of animal? You have no idea. But it's anything in it, because they are actually representing in the movie. There's obviously mammals, birds, and reptiles.
Right.
So,
There's also that sweet part with him and the Birdman.
well, see, that's what I was going to say.
That was a great one.
I
Yeah.
thought, like you said, that Romain Duris and Paul Kershay are excellent, playing the father and the son. But there's a guy named Tom Mercier who plays Fix, who's basically the bird person you see at the beginning who escapes.
Yeah.
And then ends up, quote unquote, in the forest, as they call it. Because at one point, that's why, like you said, they're moving, because the mother's going to be moved to a facility. Unfortunately, there's a huge accident. And all these, and I believe they call them, at least that's how they were interpreting it in the subtitles, critters
Right.
or creatures, right? And so there was an accident where some died, but some they think escaped into the forest.
Right.
So Romain Duris' character, who I think he's actually excellent playing this role.
He was
because
great.
He is so emotionally tortured by everything going on in this movie. And yet he's still trying to remain positive at all times. I mean, you can
Absolutely.
tell he's a loving father. You know, he's trying to look at everything positive and move his son, saying, oh, yeah, well, we got this, we got that. He's always hugging him and kissing him and saying, it'll be okay, And of course, he says, we're going to be close to your mother. So you're right, that at that town, that's why they're moving there.
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, then you get to the prejudice side of, well, we really don't want these people here, kind of thing, because they built a center. In fact, they're saying, oh yeah, it was a nice little town until we got this cement building, which supposedly is going to be the institution in which all these kind of creatures are going to be held. Because even at the beginning of the movie, you see them going to visit his wife or his mother, depending how you look at it. And there's somebody sticking out like a tongue,
Right.
like almost like what do you call it, like an anteater kind of tongue, right? That even and I'm assuming it's her mother saying, "Oh, stop doing that," and he's just looking. Oh, that's okay. It's like, yeah, see, everyone's dealing with this problem now. So in this little town that they now moved to, it's like the same thing, except now, like said, okay, what's going on with the son? Because is he going through this adolescent prepubescent awkwardness of, just growing up and everything, or is he going to be transforming at one point? And it is him. Actually, because that's the one funny thing is you're right about the people who are sympathetic towards them.
Right.
That, like this one girl, she finds a dead bird, says, well, I want to leave it for the creatures so they have food.
Right.
That sort of inspires Emile, the son character,
To do the
to
fish.
actually go catch fish
Catch
and then
fish.
feed it to people. I thought, oh, this is sort of interesting. So he actually does
He gave it to the bird.
He has this relationship with this character named Fix, the bird person. And I thought, that's the crux of the movie, because that's what you're seeing is like he sort of understands what this person's going through. He wants to help that person because his mother went through it.
Right.
So that's the part. And then as it goes along, then other things happen. It's like, okay, this is sort of getting into a place that I don't understand where it's going or what it's trying to say, except that where do you lose your humanity, I guess, is when I'm watching this movie.
Right.
Because Fix can actually speak English. He hasn't lost all his humanity. So that's why they start communicating. He starts to help.
He speaks English and not French.
well, they're speaking French, but he actually. I'm sorry, I'm reading English subtitles. So
right.
So they're communicating.
We're saying English.
He speaks human.
Because you're right. I actually want to watch this in English, and I couldn't watch it dubbed. I really want to watch this dubbed because I think, what am I missing? There's some things I'm missing. I know here, and turns out that I guess I really wasn't missing a lot because it just had to do with the relationship between these people, the critters, and the humans, and how do you deal with that?
Right.
Again, is this something we're talking about like when AIDS came into things, when
Exactly.
COVID comes into that? Every single time we have a certain problem, how do we deal with that? And
The same thing happens.
and what's funny is that it always shows you how humans seem to lose their humanity,
Right.
and yet when in this instance, that instinct that they like all the creatures seem to look after one another.
Right.
Because they realize, oh, we're on this end, so we better look after one another. So it was just such an odd experience for me because I can't even tell you whether I liked this movie or not. It was just so bizarre for me to watch this movie thinking, what am I supposed to think about this? And that's I realized because I really haven't thought about my values when it comes to stuff like this.
Right.
And the movie doesn't answer it for you
No,
either.
no, exactly.
And are you
because
acting on your values?
I will say this, that it does actually, the father character comes up with saying, no, this should happen. And I understand why he does what he does at the very end of the movie. What I think is odd, though, is like, shouldn't everybody sort of think that way?
Yeah.
And you would think they would. And,
it's based on love.
He does have, like I said, the young girl who had the bird. She's thinking about them and not just humans in general. So, there is something there. I just wish they really sort of went more in depth with it because I was sort of fascinated by this movie. I just thought towards the end and everything, it's like, oh, they really didn't get you into it, as much.
I got into it.
Though, like I said, I thought that Romandery and that Paul Crochet, excellent performances.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, and Tom Mercier, who plays the bird, the fixed
He was
character.
great.
That was, to me, the crux of the entire movie. It's like right there. In fact, I wish they only did a movie about the two of them.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah, that
interesting.
would have been good.
That would have been, to me, more interesting. But
Okay,
Yeah,
George.
I enjoyed this movie also. I enjoyed it. I thought what's the making a social commentary without making a social commentary? It was the thing with that fixed character too, that it shows you as he's mutating more and more to a bird, he starts to lose his human speech and he starts to like squawking, so it's not hard to communicate because you see that the change is almost like going through puberty.
Right.
It also like they're going through puberty, and I thought too. And also making the point like we don't understand something, so what do we do? We put him in a cage.
we get them
imprison
away.
it.
We lock them away.
Yeah,
we
we
want
lock 'em
them
away.
out of sight.
Yeah, right. And then so, whereas but it also shows that as they turn to animals, they almost like becoming free. Now you're free. You're an animal. You're in nature. That's when they're truly free.
And they're enhancing certain aspects that they never had before,
Yeah.
which is sort of
So
fascinating.
we're trying to lock them up, but they need to be free. They're animals. So it makes that point. It was kind of an interesting movie. It's really, really odd movie. It's like
It is odd, but I like that.
But
Yeah, almost disturbing sometimes in a way.
But wait, that father and the son, yeah, they were really good, great performances. So I enjoyed it.
And Bob, you didn't see it, right?
I didn't see it, but I do want to make some comments on
Okay.
this.
How can you make comments on something you haven't seen?
If there's listening, there will be learning.
Well, we'll see.
On the
I'm
trailer.
listening, but
Coming
it
on the
better be
trailer.
good.
I stated it when we started the taping, so it is, since we break this up into 5 different episodes,
Right.
I want to explain why I didn't see this movie. This movie is about transition, and I was dealing with the transition of a friend.
Of your friend.
who
Yeah,
was
absolutely.
passing. The thing is, it's about a movie of people dealing with transition
And change and loss.
and change. Yeah, so it's,
Lots especially.
this sounds really interesting to me. I look forward to seeing this. I don't think I'll go home and watch it tonight. But
not tonight.
I got to be ready for it. But I just want to say I'm not putting this movie. This is not like I did and what you will have seen last week with Shmoo Boo Boo #1,
Which
the Indian movie, whatever. I can't.
what was it?
Penyan.
Oh,
Yeah.
Penyan.
PS something.
PS1.
Yeah, this
That's
is
a PlayStation.
This is
PS1.
one that I definitely want to see, and I will see, but it just was not right for me this week.
Yeah, wait till the timing's right. So
But let me just say that also the movie is done. It's rather light and it's really quite beautiful because it is France and it is a lot of wilderness and forest in France. So it really is quite spectacular
interesting when you watch
visually.
when you're ready.
When you watch
No,
Maybe
I'll
once.
watch it. I mean,
No,
watch it
when you're
for-
ready.
also, when you watch a foreign film, it's interesting how they look French.
Yeah.
Like the father looks very
Everybody
French.
looks
Yeah.
French.
The girlfriend looks very
what are
European.
the chances of that in a
Yeah.
French movie?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
but this-
unbelievable.
what I like what you said is correct. They don't look all like they're models. They look like real people.
They look
That,
absolutely.
and that's what European films do so much better than American.
But if I
Yes.
saw this without any context, I will know this is a foreign film.
Yeah,
Not a-
just for
not a-
that.
Yeah,
not a
simply
US
because the
film.
lead isn't somebody who just had a hit record.
Okay,
so-
so
Right.
You're rating now, I think.
oh,
Oh, give it a 9.
Oh wow! I gave it a 5.
Of course, you give it a 5. You give everything a
No,
5.
it's interesting. I give it a 9. It's interesting. Yeah,
I give it a
interesting.
question mark.
okay. So I have to give it something, huh? I give it
George
a.
says, what was
I give it a
yours?
9.
9.
9.
I give it a
9
9.
over there?
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't know.
What'd you
Wow.
get?
9.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
It's a thinking
either
movie.
it's enjoyable or it's a thinking movie or both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see you next week.
We'll be back.
No.
Bye bye.
We'll be back.
Not next week. One more.
I know.
No.
But that
What
That's why
episode?
it's next week.